resurgence in the equity markets. A whole host of QIPs, IPOs and other fundraising plans are expected to hit the markets very soon. The signs were seen on Friday when 5,200 crore rupees were raised between just two banks. That's Kotak Mahindra and Yes Bank. Though, of course, in both cases, the issues or the instruments were different. Bankers expect approximately $3 to $4 billion of fundraising in the next 3 to 4 months itself. To discuss more about that fundraising pipeline, we have with us on Closing Bell Sanjay Sharma, the head of equity capital markets at Deutsche Bank. Good afternoon, Sanjay. The smile is back on the faces of all investment bankers in the country today.
Yes, very much. Everybody's excited.
Things are looking good?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so my first question is a little pointed. Are you expecting more promoter-like sales, like we saw in the case of Kotak? So that's very specific. They had to meet a certain mandate. Do you think that the next 3 to 4 months we'll see more companies come to the market saying, look, our stock prices have recovered, maybe not to the peaks of 2007, but this is a good time to maybe bring in some more equity and pay off a little bit of that debt if possible?
I think that's right.
Is that going to be the bulk?
Yeah, I would say bulk of it would be primary issuances by company. I don't see that much of promoter sell-off coming in, but possibly you have some of the private equity people who are holding stock in some of the companies. And if they feel the price is right, they may also participate. But I think primarily it would be primary issuances from companies. And bank, rightly so, have been the first to kick off.
So primary issuances, and you're talking about IPO pipeline, or are you talking about
follow-on?
I'm saying follow-on because IPO will take some time. If you look at whatever offer documents are pending with SEBI right now, are handful. It will take some time for new documents to be filed, and by the time they are approved and be ready to launch. Typically, IPOs follow. So it's secondary market, follow-ons, and then IPOs. That's the typical...
What is the time frame normally? Do you see it accelerated now, given the mood of the what's happening?
I would say IPOs earliest could be the last quarter of this calendar, but most of it will come next year.
Okay.
While follow-ons and some of the blocks may come in the second half.
Okay. So we're talking just 6 months away. You could see IPOs coming back in 6 months.
Yeah.
Which industries, Sanjay, to your mind, are looking to go back into the markets to raise money? So are these typically the kinds, like I'm taking a few names, you may not want to, but JP Associates, etc. Infrastructure companies, highly leveraged, till now, forced to sell off assets to be able to pay back banks. Now maybe thinking, look, instead of selling off that prized, hydropower project, is there any way I can raise some equity? I don't know if it's equal, but I'm asking you the question.
No, I think if you look at from the sector's perspective, investor preference would be, as I said, banks and financials, which are a proxy of the economy growing up, would be the first to go. From a corporate's perspective, yes, you're right. Infrastructure has been waiting for some time. Projects' expectations of picking up. They want to pare their debt. So I think that would be...
will there be demand for that? Companies, like she mentioned, debt-ridden companies that were forced into restructuring by banks, if they were to come out in the market and say they want to raise equity instead, will there be demand for that?
I think there will be demand. Of course, from a timing perspective, that needs to wait for some action on the ground to happen.
So not so quickly right now?
Yeah, not so quickly.
But in banks and financials, the PSU banks will struggle to be able to raise money from the markets unless they see government, some sort of maintaining of government share, right? Yes. So you're down to private sector banks. Kotak is well capitalized. What they did was only for the promoter to meet that requirement. So then it's Yes, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, and a handful of private sector banks. Many of them may not need capital. So who's going to come to this market?
So I think PSU banks will come in. Okay. Whether they take a call of government putting in their share or government agreeing to pare down their holding, because a lot of PSU banks are still well above the 51%, which is the regulatory requirement. So that I think will certainly be there. Apart from that, you're right, most of the large banks are already done with, or some of the NBFCs will come in. But otherwise, PSU banks I think will come.
And where are you seeing the money coming in from? Is it domestic? Is it foreign? Is it all? You just had the big deal?
It's a very good mix, I would say. And as we were talking about earlier, a couple of things from the Yes Bank experience. Domestic investors are also putting in money. International investors is pretty much spread across, and going back by the old ratios, 30% odd coming from US, 10-15 from Europe, and the rest coming from Asia has been very clearly met here as well. The other change which I was talking to earlier is large $100 million plus orders coming in for Yes Bank. I've seen it for a long time, coming back after a long time.
Foreign institutional investors or high net worth in India? Or
no, this was a QIP, so it was only institutional demand.
Only institutional.
But most of it foreign. So I would say 6-7 such large orders were there. So very, very encouraging inputs. And of course, you also asked which companies would come in first. I think apart from the sectors, from a company perspective, I would say follow-ons, yes, would be the first one. But the companies which are in the state of readiness, and by state of readiness, I mean, one, of course, the quality should be good. Two is their IR and the investor access should be good. So the reason, say, Yes Bank could able to do it overnight was they've been meeting investors pretty regularly. So it's not that they go out to investors when you need capital. Yeah. So that's the kind of track record whichever company has been regular in investor interaction, even in bad times, will get benefited by being able to tap these small.
What is it? So I know in the introduction we said $3 to $4 billion in terms of fundraising over the next 3 to 4 months. Is that a realistic figure?
I would say, and I'll tell you how I would arrive at. If you look at IPOs, would be less than $1 billion filed with SEBI. If you look at the resolutions of QIP, would be close to about $2.5 billion. So that basically tallies to $3-4 billion. But it's not exactly this. So some of them who have not taken a resolution will come in, take resolution, and do a quick transaction. But I would say $3 to $4 billion is a reasonable assessment.
That's half the FII flow we've seen come in through the year to date, right? So do you expect a lot of money to get sucked out from the markets towards all this fundraising pipeline? I don't think so. This is every time
there is a bull run, people say that is the case. Very clearly not. Couple of pointers. The FII money which has come in so far, I would say, is more attributed to relative positioning of India versus the other emerging markets. So the India story and the India flows have still to come.
Almost half the money into Asia has come into India.
Yes, and excluding Japan, of course.
Yeah.
But other thing is, it automatically phases out. So it's not that $3 to $4 billion will come in a week, 2 weeks. It will get phased out. And if you compare it with, say, even last year's FII flows, current 7.5 is pretty small. So I don't think FIIs will be crowded out. The other thing I think is right now, whatever negative flows you are seeing on the domestic front is going to change. So the movement in the markets, I think, will come more from the domestics because they themselves will start getting inflows from retail and they will start putting in more money into the market.
So what you're saying, you don't expect the current level of FII flows to continue through the year because once the catch-up is over, that will slow down.
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm saying the India-related flows have still not started.
Okay.
So whatever we are seeing is more from the relative positioning of India versus other emerging markets is what we have seen. The India-related, I think, though people talk about even before elections, there is a lot of positivity and people coming in. I think if you look at investor-wise, people were still waiting for the elections results to be out. Now people are saying, okay, let us wait for the budget, which is the next sort of event which will give a direction. So I see a lot of flows still coming in.
What are your clients mostly interested in? The reason I ask is I was having a conversation with Nimesh before this interview, and we were saying, I said, in many of the blue chip stocks, right, the Nifty stocks, the Sensex stocks, in some cases, for instance, like in banks or etc., FII headroom is now down to very, very little, right? So it's unless these companies are issuing new equity, whereby then it becomes an opportunity for those foreign institutional investors who had not played the India game simply because they didn't want to play it through, mid caps, etc., to sort of make their way into blue chip stocks? Or is there a huge pipeline of funds waiting outside this country saying, look, we're willing to even put it into the medium cap stocks, the lesser known stocks? What is it that your clients are interested in investing in?
I would say it's a combination of both. I think if you see the HDFC Bank stock, though the FII limit is up, you are seeing FII to FII trades happening at a premium.
Exactly.
So if an investor likes a stock, a couple of percentage up or down doesn't make a difference. But people will also come into the mid caps. They will take their own time to analyze and do investments only in the companies where they are comfortable with. But yes, that flows will also come in.
So infrastructure, so what are they telling you? Are we interested in, when they talk to you and say, look, we've got all this dry powder ready, let us know when you're raising money for mid-cap infrastructure, let us know when you're raising money for mid-cap financials, let us know when you're raising money for mid-cap power. I mean, I don't know, I'm throwing darts out there.
In my discussions, I don't think it's that much on sector specific.
Okay.
Whether it is large cap or mid-cap, they're looking at ideas irrespective of what sector.
So they're not filling allocation holes in portfolios, saying we want to be overweight infrastructure, we don't know how else to get in, maybe this is a good way if these companies are raising equity.
If you look at whatever India flows come in, they're that much agnostic. So the industry or the sector flows are basically only for large cap names. So For a large fund, which is a $10 billion, $20 billion fund, yes, it makes sense to look at infrastructure or a particular financials or some other sector. That flows into the large cap from sector specific, but mid cap is more India dedicated fund which comes in, and they are basically looking at just quality names.
You said that the FIs are also now waiting to see what happens in the budget. From your point of view, what do you think the FIs are looking at? Are they waiting for disinvestment? Do they expect that? And if it's not there, will there be disappointment, or are they looking for other things?
I don't think disinvestment specifically is something which they are looking at. I think what they will be looking at from a fiscal policy perspective, how the revenue and expenditure stack up, what the new targets are, what the path going forward is. I don't think it is specific that the money should come in only through disinvestment. Whatever means the money comes in, at the end of the day, they are looking at what the net fiscal deficit is looking at.
Do you see a scope for another PSU ETF like the Goldman one?
No, this is a vehicle which is anyway there. So even if
but
it
if
happens,
there are only limited number of stocks, right? You can't add new stocks to it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if there are other PSU stocks, let's say if the government takes a creative approach to disinvestment of some sort, do you see scope for another PSU?
In my sense, if at all, it may be more tranches of the same one.
Same one.
Before they look at something else, I think this has to have some track record of performance, I would say at least a year or two.
Okay, I have a couple of technical questions. One is, I think the last 2 or 3 years we saw a lot of FCCB based, sort of, I don't know how to put it, but either rolling over on better terms, etc., or some conversions as well, but at totally random prices. Or how does that FCCB angle play into this pickup in the equity markets, if at all you see that playing into it? And the second question is, does this new Companies Act make one process, like a QIP process, more or easier or more convenient to do as versus any other process? I'm just asking because there are all these new norms around private placements now.
Let me tackle first the FCCB bit. I think if you look at from an India FCCB market, practically the entire universe is now done with. Whatever maturities or rollovers were happened, I think.
So the bad news is out of the system.
Everything is out, I think.
Okay.
Look at it positively from an FCCB investor perspective. He doesn't have any FCCB in India to play.
But he may have taken a big hit, till now, on a bunch of FCCB.
Even then, if you look at...
so you see the QIPs and all, they may just not want to be interested at all in anything.
But still, there will be others who have not seen any... or forget primary, they don't even have any secondary market FCCB to trade in.
Okay.
So that's a positive from a perspective, but I think still some time away when you see FCCBs coming up. If at all they come up, I think it will be more like blue chip companies coming in rather than the mid cap number. On the new Companies Act perspective, I without getting into details purely from a QIP perspective, QIP perspective, it has become easier because one of the major bottlenecks, which was restricting allocations to 49 investors, have been done away with, which has become easier. But of course, it has added some of the nuances of ROC filing and all those things.
So you don't see any one process or instrument becoming, better placed or more advantaged versus another thanks to this new law. So you're not changing which route you would adopt thanks to a new law in any way.
No. But if you look at from a year-end perspective, if you look back, I would say almost 70-75% of the offering would have been through either QIP or block in this year.
So block is usually promoter, no?
It could be private equity as well.
Okay. So what I meant is block is an individual.
Yes.
We're talking, I think our larger interest here is companies being able to raise equity, right? And that would typically be
primarily
QIP or follow on, etc.
Or OFS in some cases.
Okay.
But primarily QIP.
Primarily QIP. Yeah. All right, so what's the next issue you're working on? Now we want specific.
That's after the session.
After the session. Okay, stay tuned to the break we're taking on right now. Is that how it works? Give us a sense of what can we expect in the next few weeks?
Nothing specific, I think.
Okay, just something general?
It's too early to...
Have you started getting a lot of new calls?
Yes.
Are you going to get bonuses this year?
That's still some time away, so let's not talk about it.
Okay, we tried.
You're going to call Anshu again.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining us. I'm sure we'll have you back in a few weeks with a long list of issues that you're about to do, talking to our viewers and investors about it. Thanks very much for joining us on that.